and welcome to highlights of the 1992 French Grand Prix, brought to you by Mircoprose and GP2Joey. We're in France for the 8th round of this year's championship, and the sweepingly majestic Magny Cours circuit deep in the countryside. Briton's Nigel Mansell was the winner last time out in Canada after a dramatic late race pass on Williams teammate Jean Alesi to dash the Frenchman's hopes of a first career win after an enthralling Grand Prix. And it's the Briton who leads the Drivers' Championship on 43 points, 13 ahead of defending champion and countryman McLaren's Joey Davies, with his teammate the young Michael Schumacher in third. In the constructors' standings, Williams hold a slender 5-point lead over McLaren, with Benetton ahead of Ferrari in third, as the Scuderia continue to try and salvage one of the worst seasons in their history. In the run-up to the race, Emmanuel Pirot and Martin Donnelly continue to recover from their terrible injuries after their clash in Canada, with each being replaced for the foreseeable future by rookies Christian Fittipaldi and Jean-Marc Gounon, whilst Ligier's Thierry Boutsen received a one-race ban for ignoring blue flags in Montreal. Ahead of their entry into the sport as a constructor, Sauber then claimed they had activated a long-standing agreement to run exclusive Ilmor engines, which took McLaren boss Ron Dennis by surprise, who declared his intention to resolve the situation over the coming weeks. The news then resulted in Schumacher's manager Willy Weber declaring that his boy's future at the team may well be in doubt if McLaren were to lose their engine deal for 1993. From the moment his car hit the track on Friday morning's early pre-qualifying session, Fittipaldi looked like he was born to drive a Grand Prix car, much like his double world champion Uncle Emerson had when he made his debut in 1970 for Lotus. Despite trying their best, the two Minardis of Gianni Morbidelli and Gabriele Tarquini were unable to better the two leading BMS Dellaras after claiming third and fourth behind the rookie and his teammate Ivan Capelli. For the struggling Fri&Sat team, there were smiles all round as they joined their rivals in progressing further into the weekend, whilst the others were forced to pack up and head home early after an intense and close session. No sooner had the cars hit the track on Friday afternoon, the red flags were out after Davies suffered suspension failure in the McLaren and smashed into the barriers at speed before being taken to the hospital with severe concussion. When the action resumed, teammate Schumacher was quick to restore confidence back at McLaren by going second fastest ahead of Alesi and Senna, with Prost a well-placed fifth in the Ligier. But it was Mansell who claimed the provisional pole by over 0.2 of a second. Having gone to the hospital to visit close friend Davies, Senna demanded the FIA act to slow the cars before a more serious accident occurred. And on Saturday morning it was announced that Davies would indeed be fit enough to continue. In the second qualifying session, Alesi was on it from the get-go, going fastest early on, whilst Davies, clearly still struggling, could only muster a time good enough for 15th overall. Teammate Schumacher, however, was driving better than he has for some time and toppled Alesi, but that was only until Mansell emerged once more in the Williams to exert his authority once more and claim an 8th consecutive pole for the year, whilst for Fri&Sat there was sadness as both their drivers failed to qualify. Afterwards, Mansell was pleased to have taken the pole, but was wary of the Schumacher-McLaren threat, who were bullish about their chances for the race, whilst Alesi kept up his tradition of hoping for more to come race day, whilst Davies admitted he would struggle to finish the race, but would be giving it his all to reach a points-paying top 6 position. So it's Mansell and Schumacher on the front row, with Alesi and Senna on row 2. Row 3 is Alain Prost and Michael Andretti. Row 4 is Martin Brundle and Gerhard Berger. Row 5 is Johnny Herbert and Riccardo Patrese. Row 6 is Eric Comas and Mika Hakkinen. Row 7 is Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Damon Hill. Row 8 is Joey Davis and Derek Warwick. Row 9 is Mark Blundell and JJ Leto. Row 10 is Eric Bernard and Alessandro Zanardi. Row 11 is Satoru Nakajima and Christian Fittipaldi. Row 12 is Gianni Morbidelli and Pierluigi Martini. And at the back it's Stefano Modena and Ivan Capelli. The last car pulls into the final grid slot as the red lights come on, the engine ready to rise, and it's go! It's a great start away from pole position from Mansell, with Schumacher slotting into second position with Alesi third, and he's coming under attack from Senna's Ferrari. But it's Mansell ahead of Schumacher through the first two left-handers, with Alesi in third. It's Senna fourth, and Andretti fifth, and Prost in sixth as they go around the long right-hander that leads onto the back straight. And Schumacher looks like he's going to get a good run on Mansell. He pulls out in the McLaren. Can he get through? He can't. It's Mansell just cuts across the front of the McLaren. So down towards the Adelaide hairpin they come for the first time. It's Mansell ahead of Schumacher with Alesi third. Senna's still fourth. Prost looks like he's getting past Andretti and he's through. So Alain Prost is through. Andretti's lost out also to Martin Brundle. And there's Mika Häkkinen behind Gerhard Berger. And look at this. That's Davies. And Davies is up from 15th on the grid. He's up into 10th position. Coming under attack from Eric Comas. From Thierry Boutsen. That's Eric Comas, sorry, not Thierry Boutsen, who's missing this race. But it's Mika Häkkinen. He's coming under pressure now from Joey Davies. Davies looks like he's going to try and make the move, and he does. So he goes through, and he's up into 9th position. He's going to have to see if he can chase down Gerhard Berger for 8th place. But back up front, it's Schumacher now. He's half a second behind Nigel Mansell, who looks like he's pulling away already. So they go through the left, through the right, through the final left right-hander. Across the line they come for the first time. Mansell with a half a second lead. It's out to 6/10 of a second over Schumacher, with Alesi in third. But already the Frenchman is 2 seconds away from his race-leading number one driver, Nigel Mansell. But let's have a look at the start from Davies.
Well, this will be very interesting to see here, as Davies looks like he's going to try and make the move on Damon Hill there. So I think he's just about got past there. Has to snatch the brakes there just to avoid going into the back of Comas and into the back of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. But Davies just sneakily underneath both Jordans there as he comes under, just tries to get as much grip as he can through the long right-hander, and then he just manages to get a little bit of a toe off of the Ligier now on the long run down towards the very slow 45 miles an hour hairpin at the Adelaide hairpin. So let's see what happens here as he goes through, and there's calamity up ahead. There's tyre smoke everywhere. Davies just sees a gap on the inside and he just sneaks the McLaren through. So that's tenacious driving there, and already up into 10th position.
And up at the front, that's one of the Britons. That's Herbert. Herbert going underneath Eric Comas, and Johnny Herbert's already dropped out of the top 10. But Davies is up into 8th position. But Mansell is only 7/10 of a second ahead, and Comas is trying to pass Brundle, but he can't do anything about it there. But back up front, it's Mansell with a 1.8 second lead over Schumacher, and already Alesi is 5.7 seconds behind the German and behind his race-leading teammate, and that's Davies up. So Davies has spun in the McLaren, and he's dropped from 8th position. He's down to 9th. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen's up into 14th, but he's right behind Mika Häkkinen. And these two are undoubtedly stars of the future, with JJ Leto right behind them as we ride on board with Mansell. And he's got a 2-second lead over Schumacher, with Alesi 6.6 seconds further back as Herbert. Herbert's going up the inside of Davies, who locks his left front wheel, and he's through, so Herbert's up into 8th position. Davies in 9th as Alain Prost makes a mistake. Prost loses it. He's in 5th position, with Andretti in 6th as we ride on board with Schumacher.
It's delightful to see that Michael Schumacher seems to be back on form after the terrible accident that happened to Davies in Friday practice. As we look at what the two Ferraris now, so this is Senna. This is Andretti now. He's lapping one of the LaRousses there of Alex Zanardi. So he's going to run up the inside there, and that's tremendous racing there. So Andretti goes through, and once again, as Michael Schumacher's into the pits, Andretti performing very well.
But still Mansell's in the lead as Schumacher's into the pits. He's had to stop earlier than Mansell. I'm sure that he's obviously managed to wear his tyres out a little bit more as Alesi comes in, but still Mansell stays out. Phenomenal performance from Mansell now. He's managing to completely control the race as Davies looks like he's getting embroiled in a battle royal with one of the other rookies. That was Christian Fittipaldi, I think.
But this is Heinz-Harald Frentzen. He's pulling over, so as Patrese comes into the pits, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, unfortunately, retiring the Jordan, and he's out of the race. So that's a shame for the German.
And that's Leto! So JJ Leto is out as well in the footwork. He's out. But Davies is back up into 5th position now with Andretti. Andretti's in 3rd position, and he's chasing down one of the Lotuses. He's going to try and make a way through there, but he can't. There's absolutely no gap there. And Mansell, once more, Alain Prost is up into 2nd place because Mansell, he's yet to make his tyre stop. As Alesi comes in and Andretti's in with Prost. Prost is in and Davies is battling royally. with one of the LaRousses there, and Davies is up into third place. How on earth has he managed to get up into third position?
Well, I think he hasn't stopped yet, so everybody else has obviously stopped except Nigel Mansell. So Mansell, I'm sure, will be coming into the pits very shortly. But Joey Davies is still not stopped.
And that was a McLaren.
I think that was Davies stopped there.
What's happened to Davies? I think that's Schumacher. So Davies has obviously made some sort of an error going into the pits. But Davies was stuck on the grass. We need to see what's happened to the McLaren, Mr. TV Director. As Christian Fittipaldi comes into the pits.
Davies is in. So Davies has come into the pits, but he's obviously made some sort of a mistake, and he's dropped right the way down.
And that's a Lotus on fire. That's Blundell.
Yes, Mark Blundell. So he's unfortunately going to have to retire the car as Alain Prost goes through trying to chase down Martin Brundle now. Those two are embroiled in the battle over fifth position as we see Alesi sneaking up the inside of Häkkinen.
Alesi, he's up into third position now with Schumacher still second. Everybody's made their first tyre stop. We're thinking that this is going to be a two-race strategy, a two-stop strategy for everybody. But Senna is desperately trying to close the gap to Alesi in third. Is he going to be able to do it?
Well, this is going to be very interesting to see because Alesi is very much under threat here with Williams' team. But let's ride on board with the rookie Christian Fittipaldi, and I have to say that he's been very, very impressive so far this weekend.
He certainly has, much like his uncle Emerson. Christian is definitely new to Formula One, but he's definitely got the pace. He's outperformed his teammate Ivan Capelli, and here's Capelli. Capelli getting passed by one of the McLarens, and he almost loses it. That's Schumacher.
That's Davies.
Davies almost loses it, and he's way, way down now in 14th position. He's had an absolute nightmare of a race.
Well, let's not forget that Davies is running with some sort of an injury after his massive accident on Friday, and he really shouldn't be fit enough to drive this race. I spoke to him last night. He assured me that he was fit enough, but I don't believe him. I'm good friends with him, and I've got to say that I think it's a bit unfortunate that he feels a little bit under pressure from McLaren to even be driving the car today. But back up front, Mansell with a 14.1 second lead with Alesi 29 seconds now further back.
As Alesi laps Davies, so Davies is fully going backwards. Alesi goes through, but where's Senna? He was less than 9/10 of a second behind Alesi before they came up to the McLaren. Has Senna managed to find his way through? But there's Schumacher across the line. It's lap 45, Schumacher's across the line and he is in the lead. He's leading. What's happened to Mansell?
Mansell's in the pits, so Mansell's made his tyre stop, his final tyre stop. Schumacher decides to stay out.
Well, that's interesting because Mansell decided to stay out even further the first time round as Senna comes into the pits. And that's Warwick slowing in the footwork. So that's the second footwork out. JJ Leto retired early on. Derek Warwick is not going to see the checkered flag. And he is out as Prost comes into the pits. And there's Schumacher. He's still in the lead. He's still not stopped. Is he going to come in or is he opting for one stop? Is Mansell going to have to close the gap? And that's Berger going off. Berger.
I think that was one of the other Ligiers. I think that was Eric Comas that he just tangled with there.
Fantastic development. What's happened to the Ligier? Is he out? Is he in the barriers? As Gerhard Berger continues to go around, he's ahead of Patrese, his Joas Porsche teammate. And there's Eric Comas. He's just about managed to get the car out of the gravel. It looks relatively undamaged. Has he stalled it? He can't find a gear.
Yes, he looks like he's stuck in gear there. I wonder to see if he's stopped in a very perilous position there. Can he find a gear? Yes, he can, and away he goes. So it's Mansell in second place with Alesi in the pits.
So Alesi's coming into the pits. Mansell's closed the gap now to Schumacher from 10 seconds. It's down to 3.8 with Alesi in third and Senna's in fourth. And the question now is going to be, where will Alesi emerge? Will he emerge ahead of Senna? Or will Andretti be able to find the gap? He's 6 seconds further back as Prost is carrying on. He's in sixth position as Capelli comes into the pits.
With Martin Brundle in seventh. So this has been quite a lacklustre performance here from the two Benetton drivers, with Brundle in seventh and Herbert in ninth. The two of them separated by Gerhard Berger's Joas Porsche.
But we want to see what's going on because Schumacher is still going round. The gap is down to 3.5 seconds. Is he going to come in? Surely he's going to have to come in because he's just getting eaten up by Nigel Mansell. And Schumacher's got one of the Benettons chasing him down.
I think that was Johnny Herbert. So Schumacher's in the lead now. And he's got a 3.5 second gap. Let's see as Häkkinen comes into the pits. Is it still 3.5? No, it's 3.4. So Mansell's closed the gap.
But that's Prost slowing. He's got smoke billowing out of the back of the Ligier. His Renault engine has expired. And Alain Prost is out of his home Grand Prix. That's a tragedy for the French fans and a tragedy for Alain Prost. But Mansell, undetected by us, has made his final stop, and he's now 19.6 seconds to the good with Senna. Senna's got ahead of Alesi.
Well, I'm not sure how that's happened, but Senna definitely has got ahead of Alesi now for third position. So Alesi's fallen 44.2 seconds further back from his race-leading teammate Nigel Mansell. That's quite a disappointing performance from Alesi, and I must say that I think it's about time that Williams actually did replace him. Perhaps put Damon Hill in the car, who is driving for Jordan, but he's the Williams test driver. And I think it would be smashing to see another British driver in the Williams team, as we see Brundle.
That's Brundle got off and he's out. He's out. He's had some sort of a technical failure. Or did he just lose it and spin out? We might have to wait and see if there's a replay from that. But Brundle's he's out of 5th position. And that's one of the Joas Porsches. I think that's Patrese.
It's Gerhard Berger.
Berger's out. So Berger's out, and that means that Davies is up into 7th. As Fittipaldi lets Mansell through, he lets the race leader through, but Davies is up into 7th position. He just needs one more driver to drop out, and he will be in the points-paying position as Senna's closing the gap on Schumacher.
No, that's Davies just letting Senna through there.
So Davies lets Senna through. Davies lets him through, and Senna carries on in 3rd position. He's got Jean Alesi right behind him, but I'm pretty sure that Alesi's not going to be able to do anything about it. But Nigel Mansell is still in the lead, and it's Schumacher in 2nd. As we look at Johnny Herbert trying to pass the Minardi of Pierluigi Martini, and that's Bernard. Eric Bernard with a loose left rear wheel in the LaRousse. He's out. He pulls over the Peugeot powered engine, and that's a terrible shame for them in their home Grand Prix. And another Frenchman drops out. With Senna now, we're right on board in the Ferrari, and he's got Alesi trying to desperately chase him down, but he's over 2 seconds further back. He's not going to be able to do anything about it, and Alesi looks like he's going to be off the podium in his home Grand Prix. But back up front with Schumacher 17.6 seconds behind this man. It's Nigel Mansell. He goes through the right, through the left, around the right-hander. He's just got a few more corners to go now. And this has been an absolutely dominating performance from Mansell. He's into the final turn. Around the 50-mile-an-hour right-hander. He powers across the line. And Mansell wins the French Grand Prix. Fantastic drive from the Englishman. With Schumacher a decent 2nd. In the McLaren Ilmore, he comes through the final turn. It's Schumacher with another 6 points. A brilliant drive from the young German. But Senna, has he managed to stay ahead of Alesi, who's clawed back a little bit of the difference? Senna comes through the final complex with Alesi lurking in the background, but he can't do anything about it. Senna powers out of the final turn, and he takes a podium finish, and it's a fantastic drive from Senna, with Alesi a disappointing 4th. But what a performance from Nigel Mansell. For Mansell, this was arguably as dominating a win as his Brazil victory back in March, and the Briton never looked troubled by any of his rivals. Schumacher tried hard to stay with him, but had to settle for a fine 2nd place, whilst teammate Davies struggled home despite a gallant drive just out of the points in 7th, and Senna was a decent 3rd, ahead of a lacklustre Alesi in 4th, who must now be fearing the end is nigh of Williams, who did indeed set themselves a target of evaluating the Frenchman after this race. On the podium, Mansell beamed and said he couldn't wait to get to Silverstone next week. Schumacher's relief at his first podium since Spain was evident, and Senna declared his content at finishing a race for only the 4th time this year. Mansell's lead over Davies in the Drivers' Championship is now out to a massive 23 points, with Schumacher only 2 points further back in 3rd, as Alesi and Brundle tie for 4th, ahead of Herbert, Senna and Prost. In the constructors' standings, Williams' lead is now out to 12 over McLaren, with Bennett on 38 points off the top in 3rd, ahead of Ferrari in 4th, with Ligier, Joest and Footwork the only other teams to have scored any points. Silverstone is next up, and the British fans are set to descend on Northamptonshire in their tens of thousands to cheer on Mansell, who will be looking for win number 6. Can Davies recover enough to give him a fight and claim the win for himself? Or will Schumacher be able to quash the British dreams? Will Alesi still be a Williams, or will there be a new face in the team? It's going to be a weekend you will not want to miss, that's for sure. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for round 9 of the 1992 Formula 1 World Championship and the British Grand Prix.